I never thought the person who would ruin my life would share my last name. The applause was still echoing when I realized my sister had just stolen my dream, and everyone was too proud of her to notice. I stood there, frozen in my own family's shadow, pretending to smile while my chest burned. People clapped for her as if she had carried my years of sacrifice on her shoulders. That night, I learned something cruel about love. Sometimes it disguises itself as admiration, until it claws your respect away. My mother looked at Maya with tears of joy. My father called her the pride of our family. And I disappeared right in front of them. No one saw the betrayal in my eyes. No one cared that the speech she gave was mine, word for word. When she hugged me afterward, she whispered, "You were never meant to shine, Clara." Her words felt colder than the spotlight that had abandoned me. That was the night I decided, if my own family wouldn't protect my dignity, I would. Even if it meant exposing every secret they'd buried to keep her perfect. People say every family has its golden child. Ours just happened to shine a little too bright, and I was the one left standing in the shadow. From the outside, the Matthews family looked perfect. My father, Peter, was a retired teacher who believed our last names stood for discipline and decency. My mother, Evelyn, lived for social recognition. Every handshake, every compliment was a trophy to her. And then there was Maya, my younger sister, the daughter who could do no wrong. She was confident, spontaneous, and loud in ways I never dared to be. At family dinners, I often found myself sitting quietly, watching them laugh around the table. My mother would hang on to every word Maya said, her eyes glowing with pride. If I spoke about my community project, she'd nod politely but check her phone midway through. "Clara, that's nice," she'd say with that distracted tone that meant it's not worth bragging about. I used to tell myself it didn't matter, that real respect wasn't something you demanded, it was something you earned. So, I kept working. I stayed up late writing proposals, volunteering on weekends, believing one day they'd notice. But Maya always knew how to be seen. She had a way of turning every moment into her stage. When I got an award at college, she made a joke about how boring good girls get certificates, while real achievers get followers. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, even though my throat burned. My father once said, "You should learn to be more like your sister, she knows how to make people listen." I remember smiling weakly and replying, "Maybe one day." Inside, I wondered if being respected meant being louder, or just being loved differently. When Liam, my fiancé, joined us for dinner for the first time, my mother introduced Maya first. "This is our star," she said proudly. Maya flashed that perfect smile and joked, "Careful, Liam, she's my sister, but I get all the attention." The table roared with laughter. I forced a laugh too, though every word carved into me. There was always a strange imbalance in our home, unspoken but sharp. If Maya forgot to call home, my parents excused her as busy. If I was late, I was irresponsible. If she failed, they said she was trying. If I succeeded, they said I was lucky. I held on to my work, my purpose, like it was oxygen. The community project wasn't just a dream, it was my proof that quiet people could make change too. When I was nominated for the City Award, I finally felt seen, for the first time in years. My father even patted my shoulder. "You're making us proud, Clara," he said softly. For once, Maya didn't interrupt. She just smiled. But the way she looked at me that night, it wasn't admiration. It was calculation. And that's when I sensed it, something beneath her smile wasn't love at all. It was envy wearing a sister's face. The week before the award ceremony was supposed to be the proudest time of my life. My project had caught the city's attention, a small initiative helping underprivileged students find scholarships. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. I thought, for once, my family might see me not as the quiet daughter, but as someone worthy of the Matthews name. Instead, it became the week everything began to rut. Maya offered to help me prepare for my acceptance speech. "You get nervous in crowds," she said sweetly, flipping through my notes. "Let me polish it a bit. You know how to write, I know how to perform." I wanted to say no, but my mother jumped in. "That's a wonderful idea. You girls should work together. Maya knows how to make things sparkle." I smiled faintly, though my stomach tightened. Sparkle. That word always meant Maya would take over. Each day, she spent more time with my files, rewriting lines, calling my contacts to confirm details. When I asked for updates, she'd shrug. "Relax, Clara. You'll thank me later. The night before the ceremony, I found her in my room, scrolling through my presentation on my laptop. What are you doing?
I asked. She didn't look up. Just rehearsing.
I need to know your words if I'm introducing you on stage. Her tone was casual, but her eyes flickered with something colder. The next day, the event hall glittered with chandeliers and cameras. My heart raced as my name was called for the award. But before I could stand, Maya walked up to the stage, smiling like it had always been hers. The host even introduced her as the brilliant mind behind the youth program.
I froze. My throat closed, and my hands trembled in my lap. My parents clapped proudly, unaware, or maybe unwilling to notice. Then I heard her voice. She was reading my speech. Word for word.
Every sentence, every emotion I had poured into those lines now flowed from her lips, coated with confidence.
The audience rose in applause. Flashbulbs went off.
And in that dazzling light, I felt invisible. When it was over, she came to me, her perfume thick in the air. You didn't expect me to let you embarrass yourself up there, did you? She whispered.
I stared at her. You stole it, Maya. That was my work.
She smiled.
It was our family's work.
You just inspired it.
That night, back home, I tried to explain it to my parents. My voice trembled as I told them what she'd done. My father frowned, but my mother sighed.
Clara, don't make a scene. She only stepped in because she knew how nervous you'd be.
I couldn't believe it.
You think I'd lie about my own project? Evelyn's tone hardened.
You're always so dramatic.
Why can't you just be happy for her?
Something inside me cracked.
She took everything I worked for. I shouted, tears burning down my face. Maya stood in the doorway, arms crossed, pretending to look hurt. You're twisting things again, Clara. You always do this when someone else shines. My father finally raised his voice, something he rarely did. Enough.
Both of you. We're a family.
Stop humiliating yourselves.
Humiliating ourselves.
As if I hadn't already been stripped of every ounce of respect I had. I locked myself in my room, shaking. My phone buzzed with social media posts, photos of Maya holding the award, captions calling her an inspiration. My name wasn't mentioned once. Hours later, a message came through from an unknown number.
A photo attachment.
It was Maya, handing over my project documents to someone at the city office days before the ceremony. The timestamp didn't lie. I stared at it, my pulse pounding in my ears. She hadn't just stolen my spotlight. She'd planned it. After that night, something changed inside me. I didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't even argue anymore. I just watched and remembered.
But the world outside my silence had already chosen its side.
Everywhere I went, I heard her name. Maya Matthews, the brilliant youth leader.
Reporters called her the voice of change.
My parents glowed whenever they mentioned her, like she had brought honor to our entire bloodline. I, on the other hand, became the quiet sister who helped her behind the scenes. A supporting character in a story I wrote. At Sunday dinners, my mother would start with, "Guess who was featured in the newspaper again?" And my father would chuckle, "She's making us proud, Evelyn." Then someone would glance at me and say, "You must be so proud of your sister, Clara."
I always smiled. Of course. My words tasted like dust.
One night, at a family gathering, Aunt Roslyn leaned close, her perfume sharp. "You know, dear, Maya says she's helping you with your career too. Isn't that sweet?" I looked at her, struggling to breathe.
She said that. Oh yes, Aunt Roslyn laughed. She's such a generous girl.
Said you just need a little guidance. That word, guidance, burned through me.
Guidance, from the girl who built her name on my work.
At another family party, my father toasted to Maya's success in front of 30 guests. To my youngest daughter, who proved that courage and confidence lead to greatness.
Everyone clapped.
I sat still, my glass trembling in my hand. Then Maya added, smiling sweetly, "And to my sister, Clara, my quiet partner in crime. She's the reason I learned how to dream big." Laughter filled the room. People looked at me as if I were her assistant. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "Glad to be of help," I said, voice barely steady.
After dinner, Liam pulled me aside. "You're taking this too personally."
"She didn't mean to hurt you."
I stared at him. "She stole everything I built, Liam."
How is that not personal?
He sighed.
She's family, Clara. Maybe you should just move on. His words broke something fragile inside me, not because he said them, but because he meant them. As weeks passed, Maya's lies grew bolder. She gave interviews about her journey of helping children. She posted photos of herself in front of the schools I worked with. She even used my quotes online. When I confronted her privately, she smirked. You can't own good deeds, Clara. People love a story, not a shadow. That night, I went to my project office. The staff looked away awkwardly when I walked in. One of them whispered, "Didn't Maya design this program?"
My stomach turned.
She had taken not just my credit, but my identity. By the time my name disappeared from the Foundation's website, I stopped sleeping. I moved like a ghost through my own life, holding my silence like a weapon I wasn't ready to use. Then came the night of my parents' anniversary celebration. The entire extended family was there, the house glowing with lights and laughter. Maya walked in wearing a gold dress, cameras following her. My mother announced proudly, "We're so lucky to have a daughter like Maya. She makes this family shine." Everyone clapped again. Except me. I just sat there, calm and cold. When Maya came to hug me for the cameras, I leaned close and whispered, "Enjoy the spotlight while it lasts." She froze for a second, her smile faltering just slightly, enough for me to see the fear behind her confidence. I always thought betrayal would come with warning signs, angry words, a slammed door, a cold silence. But when it finally came, it wore a smile. It happened the week of my parents' anniversary gala, the one Maya had insisted on organizing to honor our family's legacy. Everyone was invited, family, friends, even her new boss from the youth council. The same council that had stolen my name from the project I'd built. I told myself I could handle one night. I was wrong. The ballroom glittered like a dream. Chandeliers shimmered, guests laughed over champagne, and I felt like an uninvited guest in my own family's story. My mother beamed as Maya gave a speech about values and family pride. Each word hit like a blade dressed in sugar. Some people talk about helping others, Maya said, glancing in my direction. But in this family, we do things. We make a difference. The crowd applauded. My hands stayed still. Then, the announcement came, one I hadn't been warned about. My father stepped to the microphone. "We're proud to share that we've decided to establish a family trust in Maya's name, to support her continued work in youth development." The room erupted in cheers. My vision blurred. My name, my work, wasn't mentioned once. I turned to my mother, whispering, "What about me?" She smiled faintly. "You've always been the modest one, Clara. You don't need recognition to do good." Recognition? That wasn't what I'd lost. I'd lost my place, my identity. When I tried to walk out, Maya stopped me, her hand cold around my wrist. "Don't make this about you," she whispered. "You'll only embarrass yourself." I yanked my arm away. "You took everything from me, Maya. Everything." She smirked. "No, Clara. I earned what you were too timid to fight for." And then, in front of everyone, she leaned into the microphone and said, "I also want to thank my sister Clara, the quiet force who inspired me to dream big." The audience clapped. It sounded like mockery. I couldn't breathe. My mother laughed, my father nodded proudly, and Liam, he looked away, ashamed to meet my eyes. That moment broke me in a way I can't explain. Not from anger, but from the realization that no one in that room saw me anymore. After the event, I sat alone on the balcony, the night air sharp and cold. The city lights below blurred through tears I refused to let fall. My phone buzzed with notifications, photos of Maya smiling, headlines calling her a beacon of youth leadership. Everywhere I turned, she existed. And I didn't. The next morning, I tried to reason with my parents one last time. "You've built everything around her image," I said quietly. "What happens when the truth comes out?" My mother looked offended. "You're being cruel, Clara. Maya has done more for this family's name than you ever did." My father added, "This jealousy doesn't suit you. Learn to be proud instead of bitter." Jealousy. That was the word they gave to my pain. I walked out of that house and stood on the porch, staring at the sky that had once felt so endless. Now, it just looked empty. For the next few weeks, no one called. No one asked if I was okay. I had become a ghost to my own family. I stopped going to gatherings, stopped replying to messages.
Liam tried once. "You're isolating yourself," he said.
I replied, "I'm protecting what's left of me."
He sighed.
"You're not the same, Clara."
And I told him, "No, I'm not." But in the silence that followed, something shifted inside me.
Beneath the heartbreak, beneath the humiliation, something small and sharp began to grow. Resolve. I started going through my old files, my saved drafts, my emails. Every document had a timestamp, every message a trace.
The truth wasn't lost.
It was hidden, just like me. One night, while scrolling through my inbox, I found the email she'd sent to the council's director using my proposal, my name erased, her signature at the bottom. It was dated 2 days before my official submission. My hands trembled, but I smiled. For the first time in months, I smiled. Because now, I wasn't powerless anymore. They had all laughed at my silence, mistook it for weakness. But silence can be a weapon, sharp, patient, waiting for the right moment. I closed my laptop and looked at my reflection in the dark window. My eyes were tired, but steady. They had taken my respect once. I would take back something far greater. That night, I stopped mourning what I'd lost, and started preparing for the truth that would destroy them all. For months I carried the weight of their indifference like a stone in my chest. Grief taught me to fold inward. Anger taught me to move. I stopped waiting for apologies and started collecting evidence. Quiet people survive by watching. I became patient, methodical, the opposite of the sister who loved the spotlight. First, I rebuilt the small things, my routine, my voice, my boundaries. I stopped answering calls that tried to smooth things over with false kindness. I stopped smiling when they praised her and began asking questions instead. Where did that press release come from? Who signed the city contract? When did they change the project webpage? Each answer left a trail. Each trail led me closer. I spent nights in the glow of my laptop, cataloging timestamps, saved drafts, and message threads. I found the email she'd sent to the council whose header read like theft in black and white, her name on my proposal, her signature on my work, sent 2 days before my submission. I pulled GPS-stamped photos from the school visits, cross-checked meeting logs, and recovered deleted files where my original draft still lived. Every little discrepancy was a nail. Together they felt like a coffin for the lie she'd built. But evidence alone wasn't enough. I needed to shape the story so people would understand what had been stolen, not just the work, but my dignity. I reached out to an old mentor who had once believed in me, someone outside the family who could speak without blind loyalty. She listened, then said, "Truth is powerful, but it needs witnesses." I found witnesses. A program volunteer who remembered my planning sessions, an intern who had direct messages proving Maya's edits, and a council staffer who admitted privately that the proposal had been forwarded by someone using Maya's email. Each person was hesitant. Fear of fracturing families is a strong thing, but my calm resolve convinced them. I didn't beg. I offered them safety and facts. I rehearsed how I would reveal it. Publicly? Quietly? In a courtroom? My hand shook at first when I imagined everyone watching me. Then I pictured their faces the night they cheered for her, proud, unknowing, blind. I decided to match the scale of the humiliation with equal impact, not to ruin for ruin's sake, but to restore what was taken. There were risks. Exposing Maya would fracture the family further. It might ruin our father's reputation, shatter my mother's social standing, and cost me relationships I still loved. Liam might walk away. The city council might deny everything. But every choice to stay silent had already cost me more than any truth could: my sense of self. I realized the only currency I had left was the truth. I would spend it, even if the price was high. I prepared the stage carefully. An engagement dinner would gather everyone: family, friends, even the city council members who had praised Maya. I booked a small sound recorder and backed up every file to 3 separate drives. I arranged for my mentor to be there as a witness and quietly alerted the volunteer who still had the original signed attendance sheets. I printed copies of the incriminating emails and placed them in an envelope I kept close to my chest. When I practiced speaking, my voice surprised me, steady, not hysterical. I whispered the words I would use until they fit like armor. "I'm done letting other people tell my story," I said to my reflection one night. I could feel the old fear tugging at my sleeves, begging me to retreat. But beneath it, a new current ran, precise, patient, and cold with purpose. The plan was dangerous, intimate, and irrevocable, exactly what it needed to be. Tonight the house will be full. Cameras, toasts, and that hollow applause she loved. Tomorrow, everything I've gathered will either be proof or ruin. The night of my parents' anniversary dinner glowed like something from a magazine. Perfect table settings, gold ribbons, candles flickering like tiny witnesses. To everyone else, it was a celebration of family, of unity. To me, it was the stage where truth would finally breathe. I stood at the edge of the room, calm but coiled inside. My mother moved between guests with her usual grace, beaming whenever someone praised Maya. My father practiced his speech again, proud and oblivious. And Maya, dressed in crimson silk, radiant under the lights, looked every bit the beloved daughter she pretended to be. When she caught my gaze, she smirked. "Try not to ruin the evening, Clara," she whispered as she passed me. "It's about love, not jealousy." I smiled faintly. "You're right," I said. "It's about truth." Dinner began. Speeches flowed, laughter filled the air. Liam tried to squeeze my hand, but I slipped it away. The time for comfort was over. Then, my father tapped his glass. "Before dessert, my daughters would like to say a few words." Maya looked surprised but recovered quickly. "Of course," she said smoothly. "I'll start." She stood, her voice honeyed, her gestures perfect. She thanked the guests, spoke of family, of gratitude, of the honor of continuing the Matthews legacy. The crowd melted into applause. She was halfway through thanking her mentors when I rose from my seat. "Actually," I said, my voice clear, "I'd like to add something." The room quieted. Maya froze, her smile stiffening. My mother's hand tightened around her napkin. I stepped to the front, each click of my heels echoing like a countdown. "For a long time," I began, "I thought silence was dignity. I thought patience would protect my family's peace. But silence only protects lies." Murmurs rippled. Maya shifted uncomfortably. I pulled out a small remote and clicked. The screen behind us lit up, a projector showing the proposal for the city's youth initiative. My voice filled the room, recorded from months before, presenting the project in my own words. "These are my original submission files," I continued, dated and verified before Maya's presentation. My father's face went pale. My mother whispered, "What are you doing?" "Showing the truth," I said quietly. "Next slide." Emails appeared on the screen. Maya's name, my attached files, the council's acknowledgement. The room filled with gasps. One of the council members, seated at the far table, leaned forward in shock. "Maya," he asked, "you sent these under your name?" Maya's voice cracked. "This isn't what it looks like." "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like," I said, turning to her. "You didn't just steal my work. You built your entire reputation on it." My father stood up. "Clara, that's enough." "No, Dad," I said firmly. "For once, it's not enough to pretend. You taught us that respect is everything. Tonight, I'm taking mine back." The air trembled. My mother's eyes filled with tears, not for me, but for the scandal. Liam's head was bowed, ashamed. Maya tried to recover, reaching for the microphone. "She's twisting this. She gave me permission." "Really?" I held up a printed message thread, her own words, bragging to a friend. "She's too soft to fight back. This will be easy." Silence. You could hear the chandelier hum. Then the council representative spoke. "Miss Matthews, this is serious. We'll need to investigate this immediately." Maya's lips parted, but no sound came out. For the first time, her confidence shattered. My father sat down heavily, staring at nothing. My mother's hands shook. I turned to them, voice low. "You always said family means protecting our name. But what good is a name if it's built on shame?" No one moved. No one clapped. The applause that had once drowned me out had died for good. Maya finally whispered, "You destroyed me." I looked at her. "No. You did that yourself." I just turned on the light. And with that, I walked away from the table, leaving the evidence projected behind me, truth glowing brighter than any chandelier in that room. After that night, silence became the only sound that followed me. Not the cold, punishing silence of before, but a clean one, the kind that comes after a storm has finally emptied itself. The next morning, the messages started. My father sent a single line, "We need time." My mother didn't write at all. The family group chat, once filled with pictures of gatherings and laughter, went dark. Maya's name vanished from the council website within a week. Her sponsors pulled back, her reputation dissolved quietly under the same spotlight she had craved.
I thought victory would feel loud. It didn't.
It was still, heavy, and strangely sad. Because the truth doesn't always bring joy, it brings balance. When I went to visit my father a few days later, he looked smaller somehow, older.
He didn't defend her this time.
I thought I was protecting the family, he said softly, but I was only protecting our illusion.
I nodded.
We all did.
My mother couldn't meet my eyes.
You humiliated your sister, she whispered.
No, I replied gently.
I only showed her reflection to the world.
What they saw was already there. There were no more arguments after that. Just distance.
In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my program, not as a daughter seeking approval, but as a woman reclaiming her purpose. The city invited me back, quietly, and this time my name was printed in bold. No speeches, no applause. Just a certificate and a simple handshake that meant more than all the clapping in the world.
Liam called once.
You proved your point, he said. I wasn't proving a point, I told him. I was proving I mattered. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. That silence, too, was a kind of ending. As months passed, life found a quieter rhythm. I moved to a smaller apartment near the school district, started teaching workshops for young women who had been overlooked, silenced, dismissed. I told them what I had learned the hard way, that silence is not grace if it costs you your respect. Sometimes, at night, I still thought about Maya. I wondered if she hated me, or if she had finally understood.
But I never reached out.
Some truths don't need closure, they just need space to breathe. One evening, while I was packing materials for a new community event, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You were right.
I didn't deserve what I took.
I'm sorry.
No name, but I didn't need one.
For a moment, I just stared at the screen, then set the phone down and whispered, I forgive you, but I won't forget. Outside, the city hummed softly, alive and uncaring. I closed the window and smiled to myself, not with triumph, but with peace. Memorable line. Respect isn't something others give you, it's something you decide never to give away again. The truth had cost me my family's approval, but it had given me back something greater. My voice, my dignity, and my name.